managed to tackle myself, like fold myself in half against the wall. I'm actually upside down, 60 feet up.
Prep the body bags.
Yeah. Start the ambulance. Yeah.
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of UK Stuntmen React. We've got a great show for you today, an amazing guest in Rick English. Hello Rick.
Hi.
Rick, tell us a little bit about your stunt career.
Started in stunts probably 20 years ago or so. Gone quick, got to be honest. And been lucky enough to work on some of the biggest films that we've had over here, really, and biggest franchises. So I've worked on the 3 Nolan Batman movies, a couple of the Bourne movies, Bond movies, Harry Potter,
Nice.
Mission Impossible, Kingsman. Yeah, it's been good.
Well, on that, we'll get straight into our first clip. Kingsman, The Secret Service, the first clip we're looking at today. I personally love this film. We're specifically looking at kind of the big church fight scene, and I absolutely love this scene as well.
It was an action scene that really took things to the next level and was really good, really enjoyable to watch.
What was you doing on this one, Rick?
I was Colin's double for this sequence.
So that means you are the man doing the fighting, basically, for this scene?
Yeah, to be honest, when we first started the movie, we started prepping everything. Colin sort of said to me he was determined I was going to do everything. He was like, I'm the least physical person ever. But then he really got into enjoying his training with us, and then he wanted to do more and more. When we shot it, although I did every sequence, he also did every sequence as well, and so the whole thing is a blend of
okay, nice.
Of the two of us.
It's pretty seamless between you and him. I mean, obviously there's some visual effects there as well, but...
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of the sequence was that it wanted to play as one continuous piece of action.
Obviously, it isn't all in one shot. There is breaks in the thing. Were they like really small chunks, or were they like bigger chunks than others?
It depends. Some parts we need wires for certain parts. There's a part where I run across the benches in there and stuff, and then there's another ratchet back into church organ. Those parts have to obviously be sections by themselves. We were kind of limited on the amount of stunt performers we had there as well, which is really funny. You'll see the same people crop up with wigs and...
One particular is a good friend of mine, Rory Mulray.
Oh yeah, Rory, yeah.
And he's a bald guy. He literally, like 2 seconds later, he's back in. He's got this terrible wig like, just slapped on his head. And unless you know, you don't notice.
Yeah,
but
there's obviously a lot of people in the church in the start of it.
Yeah.
Have you got a mix of extras there and stunties? And then once we get into the fight, are we now all stunties, or there's some extras kind of just like flailing around in the background and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly that, yeah. But they did a good job, actually, and they were really enthusiastic, and we had some real characters in there.
What gags are kind of most memorable for you out of this?
The ratchet into the pipe organ was pretty rough. One of the first takes, I just got slightly off balance as I pulled and kind of managed to tackle myself, like fold myself in half against the wall on the first take. Yeah, it wasn't the best.
is there moments where it's still you, but they've done face replacements?
Yeah, that's the first time I've really seen that blatant of face replacement in terms of how we shot it. I think the technology's come on so much now that you can get away with going full face to the camera and they can replace it.
The blatant use of dummies and stuff as well.
the head into the base.
The thing is, it's like you can see it's a dummy, but it just works so well because it's kind of so over the top now.
And you don't almost have time to register it by the time you come, was that a dump? And then there's something else that's
going on,
happening.
exactly,
It kind of...
There's constant hits. It's not just like here's a big hit and then we talk and then there's another big hit. No. It's just relentless, like cool hits.
Completely action.
And then, yeah, exactly.
And doesn't stop until everybody's dead on the floor. That's pretty much.
Like an entire room full of people.
Did the camera guy have to practice the moves with you guys? Like,
I would have a lot of kind of conversation with him beforehand. It was the same camera guy doing the whole sequence, and I would go through him a few times, specifically what the move was going to be, and let him practice before we even got into there with all the performers and everything.
Right.
Because he was such a big part of it.
Of course, yeah.
As well. People don't obviously realise that because he doesn't appear on screen.
There's also a lot of gags where you are stabbing people with various bits of wood and stuff like that. Is that just a matter of you having a set bit? Would you just put your hand to them kind of thing?
So what they'll usually typically do is have SFX rig in, paint it out to the point until your hand meets it, and then it's there. So it's already there, but it's combining the two. So
I think you know this stuff a lot better than me, George. Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, he had it there, and we had to literally turn to him, find the handle, and then let it go to reveal it left in there. Yeah,
that's interesting. So the explosion there?
Yes, that's practical.
Practical, okay, great. Looks great.
Yeah, the lectern was pretty much destroyed.
Oh, really? Right.
Yeah, it just kind of blew into nothing.
Obviously, when you're going through the fight, like you say, it's broken down into these sections, right? So then, in order to make it feel like a one, they've stitched the shots together.
Yeah.
and it's usually done with like a wipe or you know, some sort of movement that allows you to
or zoom in.
So a movement of the camera or a movement of a person or something like that. So when you see at the start, you see all these people kind of diving, they're like kind of diving across screen. They're the wipes for the stitch points for each shot to go together.
I'd never really experienced that before. It's the first time I'd been involved with any sequence that used those kind of techniques. It was pretty interesting.
So we've got a new member of the team. This is Noodle, the cockapoo. She's come to join us while we watch T2.
And then Rick, this is one that you've kind of chosen to watch.
Yeah, I haven't seen it for a long while, but I just remember it being a really cool kind of vehicle chase in here with cars, bikes and a big truck. I like to do a mix of every type of stunts, but I would say bikes are probably my favourite.
And do you think that scenes like this kind of contributed to some of the...
Yeah, for sure. Quite straightforward, but to be honest, it's always hard when you've got a kid on a bike, because who are you going to get to double that, you know? Yeah, that's a great stunt.
When it lands, you see it, like that is wrecked.
And then just drives straight off.
Yeah. Like that
there was nothing left of that truck when it landed.
And now it's just replaced with a fresh.
Yeah, it's fine. His tyres are intact.
Couple of dents.
Yeah,
right.
That was towed in that truck. I think that was on a wire, and they sent it off the overpass.
Okay.
I don't believe there was a driver in that. You want some good money for that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And I love the one-armed.
That's so cool. That's such a cool. Big jump on the Harley.
See, that was okay. So the version we're watching here, they face replaced.
Really? I think this is like an updated version.
I think it's the remastered.
Because in the
original,
looked
pretty good.
Yeah,
that looked pretty good.
In the original, it is so obvious that it's not Arnie.
Really, I would have to rewatch that.
I think he literally got a moustache in the original.
I'm glad that when they did this jump from the overpass on the Harley, I think that was done on a wire practically, rather than it's been a definite digital takeover, and the bike will just kind of float and everything.
It takes straight out of it as well.
Yeah, and there's quite a natural movement of the bike there, and a natural kind of bounce to it as it lands.
The bounce is wicked.
A few sparks when it lands.
That would have literally just folded in half.
So I think the engine would have just dropped out the bottom, and the wheels would have just gone sideways.
The Ed Furlong shots, there's quite a few shots where we're looking at him face on.
Yeah.
Do you think he would be on like a low loader type thing?
It looks like it. The bike's quite kind of static in those shots, and it's just a little giveaway sometimes, but it's not distracting at all in this film. You don't get taken out of the chase by that. The trouble of having kids riding bikes is that to stunt double them, you have to find kind of smaller performers.
Yeah.
I think they used slightly larger bike for the stunt performer, so that relative size to the performer, it was the same as Ed was on his small 100cc or 125 or whatever.
I mean, that truck is truly wrecked by the end of
It
this.
is now. And now it definitely is.
I think a lot of people who are into action films, into sci-fi, T2 would be like high in their list as like things that inspired them.
Yeah, it's a great sequence. Even watching it again now, it's better than I remember it.
Inception, and it's the kind of zero-G hallway fight. Again, this is like one of those action sequences that just stands out in recent time.
Reinventing what's been seen, you know, coming up with new ideas. That's what people want to see.
Another great film to be involved with, to be honest. I mean, Nolan's done some pretty groundbreaking stuff. But when it came to this zero-G part, there were discussions initially about everything, and they talked about the vomit comet and everything, you know, the plane that does the sort of parabolic dives and stuff. And then we tried various kind of wire methods of seeing if we could make it look believable. What gives away wires a lot of the time is an unnatural movement where it feels like the force is going one direction and suddenly for no reason it moves to go the opposite direction. So to stop that from happening, what they actually did was had us suspended on wires, but when you look at the corridor, you can see there's a set of steel doors at the end there. That's actually where the wires came from. So the corridor is actually suspended this way, and we're hanging from the ceiling, which is the steel doors there. So anytime you look at me coming down towards the camera, I'm actually upside down, 60 feet up, coming down towards the camera.
So how you were kind of spinning, and so are you in like a gyro rig?
No, we tried that. It was just a case of filming sections at a time and then unraveling afterwards. Right. So we would kind of come together, both suspended on our independent bunches of lines, and then we'd kind of come together, and then the wires would end up kind of wrapped around each other when we did those parts, and then we'd just unravel. Joseph did all of this himself, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but he's a really physical guy as well. He's got like a bit of circusy and gymnastic-y background and everything. He was up for everything. He used to come in every day and rehearse with us. We were on those wires for like 3 months.
Wow.
And then I get choked up with my own arm, which is ironic.
Pretty cool,
I'm just left hanging in space forever.
That's a pretty cool death, I thought.
You like it? We had a few different options.
Yeah. It must be cool to see yourself, you know, especially in a sequence like this.
Yeah, it's like I say, when you film stuff, you never know which ones are going to turn out to be something a bit special. It's nice to film good action that's in a movie which is just genuinely a good movie.
Well, that's what makes an amazing action sequence like this, is the amount of thought and prep that goes into it to make it really sell.
Yeah, I think people don't realise that for a 20-second sequence, that's a few months worth of work, a good few months worth of hard work by a lot of departments as well, not just stunt department.
Yeah, it pays off.
Yeah, definitely. Mission Impossible 5 Rogue Nation.
Okay, so I played one of the bikers chasing Tom and Simon. We did a bike chase out in Morocco. Pretty high speeds, pretty action-packed, and yeah, one of my favourite jobs.
In terms of the road itself, the highway, had they kind of closed off a section of highway for this, for you to shoot on?
Yeah, this was I think it was a 7-kilometre section of highway that was completely closed off. We had the whole highway, 3 lanes on each side, epic kind of landscapes and
yeah, it looks amazing. Sports
bikes. So I have a silver mirror visor on here. That when we shoot action sequences with cars or bikes and it's vehicle sequences, most of the stuff's, first and second gear. We had some parts of this sequence on the highway where we were hitting kind of 120, 130 miles an hour.
When you get onto these, obviously, these really winding roads up on the cliffside,
did
the speed have to come down quite a bit?
It did, and to be honest, I was really looking forward to riding these kind of switchbacks because they look amazing. You're on the side of a mountain there. The drops are real as well. If you go off the edge of that cliff, you're in some serious trouble. You're into, 700, 800 foot drops. Right. We had medevac helicopter there the whole time, and it would be funny because just before the take, they'd be like, okay, start the helicopter. And so I'd literally start it, make sure it was ready to go.
Prep the body bags.
Start the ambulance. The guns were on magnets. They obviously had to be left-handed because throttle on the right side, brake on the right side, all your controls are pretty much there. You can take your clutch hand off for a bit, fire your gun and put it back.
Right, okay.
I bet your aim was a bit off, wasn't it, left-handed?
Yeah, and cornering, at the same time.
Talk us through how you went about the kind of high side at the end.
In movies, we've seen a lot where a bike's going to crash, that it'll be a low side crash. The difference between a low side and a high side, the bike will slide away and the rider will slide to the floor as well. It's a pretty standard way to crash. Still can look good, but we wanted to do something a little bit different. We're all big MotoGP fans, and there was a huge crash one weekend. We started talking about doing the same sort of thing for the crash at the end, whether we could high side a bike like that.
I love how you guys see basically essentially what was a massive accident and go, I want to do that.
Yeah, no, he was all right. It was one of those things, we weren't going to practice it. It's never going to be the same. If you did it 100 times, you wouldn't get to the same. I just locked the bike, threw it into a sideways slide, and then before it went down, I just let the brake off and let the rear tyre re-grab the road again. It fired me over the top.
I mean, that sounds, the way you describe it sounds quite simple. That's a lot to think about in a split second.
It is, and that's the way I kind of approach crashes myself, is I don't really think about the crash. I just drill in my head the technique I'm going to go through, get to the mark, bars to the left, hit the brake side, and I'll just visualise it again and again and again and again.
If you're going into it thinking or not really sure how this is going to go, that's when it's most likely to go wrong.
For sure, because then you can only react. You can't predict anything, and you can't anticipate and try and keep yourself safe. But I knew basically I'd be sort of diving off head first once the bike flicked me off, and so I was just prepared to reach out, stretch out as long as possible, just to make it a nice open shape, to make a nice shape in the air. I didn't want to go off just in a ball. I thought it'd look nicer if it kind of threw me off and the body opened out a little bit, and then it's almost just into almost a dive roll kind of thing at 50 miles an hour.
Yeah. Thanks for watching the show, guys. We really hope you enjoyed it. Huge thanks to Rick for coming in. Thank you, Rick.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure you watch next week. We've got another great guest, Dave Foreman, who was the original Leonardo in the first Turtles film, one of our favourite films. So make sure you check it out. Thanks, guys.